Well, it's here. One of my most anticipated games from last E3. In case you don't know, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is a puzzle game made by Nintendo that takes place in the Mario universe. It plays similar to the levels in Super Mario 3D World, where your goal is to play through a cube-like level in order to get the star that is hidden in each one. The catch is that Captain Toad can't jump, and he is quite slow and bulky, so in this case even the smallest enemy could be a huge threat for poor Toad. Let's start with the obvious. The visuals are gorgeous, in my honest opinion. These are some of the best graphics on the entire Wii U. It takes the awesome art style of Super Mario 3D World, the insane attention to detail as Mario Kart 8, and the extremely colorful imagery as Super Smash Bros. Wii U. The worlds seem totally immersive, like you are actually in them. The music is also very atmospheric, really adding to the depth already in the levels. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker absolutely aces the presentation, but it's kind of expected. Either way, the game looks and sounds gorgeous. The levels themselves are really quite cool, as the gameplay on them is really better than the 3D World levels. You feel your progress in the game, and the levels begin to grow on you. Each level has a unique puzzle, and figuring them out can be really fun yet challenging. It makes total sense that this was originally going to be a Legend of Zelda game, meant to serve kind of as a 3D version of the 2D Zelda titles. I think the best part about this game, personally, is the puzzles and their solutions. 100%ing the game means to beat every single level, get every hidden gem, and pass every hidden objective. I also must mention that there are a few levels returning from Super Mario 3D World, where you can play as Toad or Toadette on them, rather than Mario, so that's an interesting thing. Now, there are some flaws to some of the level design and usage. So the camera in this game is really quite cool. Never in a game have I felt camera control is such a large part of it. I really liked the idea of the camera control, but it did have a few flaws. Some deaths could have been preventable if you could change the zoom better, like it has the far-in zoom and the far-away zoom, which are both kind of yuck. And the gamepad's motion control cameras kind of suck. I do like these. These don't really bother me. These camera problems, except for on one group of levels in particular that I really hate. One of my main problems with the game as a whole, and that is the minecart levels. I thought they'd be really... They honestly seem to be the most creative levels. You kind of have a first-person or third-person shooter on the rails, where you can look at it on the gamepad. Whoa. Right? That's a really good idea, and then you get the whole view up on the TV, so you get the different perspectives. Problem is that the controls are really quite bad and unresponsive in these levels. This is the only time I really feel that you actually feel the problems with the gamepad's camera control, especially with the motion. It really does interfere with those levels, and I had a hard time getting the collectibles on those. My main problem with the game, lack of boss fights. I would have thought that many boss fights would have been in order, because that'd be the coolest thing. If you could have a lot of different boss fights using the no jump concept, that would have been awesome. You could have all kinds of crazy boss fights. But there are only 2 bosses in this game that they fluctuate between. They get used many times, and I didn't even think they were the best bosses. They're not even using these potentials. The dragon's alright and the bird's alright, but they're not spectacular. They're just alright. But I hope they do is to make a sequel to this, because this was an awesome game. But the system that would need this the most, in my opinion, is the 3DS. The amount of possibilities with that would be endless. You could see the 3D for the shooter, the first-person shooter, and the levels in 3D, and maybe similar to those little puzzles in Super Mario 3D Land, sometimes you'd have to use the 3D depth perception in order to figure these out. Oh yeah, by the way, that shot of the dragon's awesome. The visuals, of course, are really gorgeous, and this game is one of the better games on the Wii U. Which makes me really happy, because I really like a lot of games on the Wii U. Anyways, so, in my opinion, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is one of the best games on the system. It has the best visuals of any Wii U game so far, good level design, a nice soundtrack, good gamepad usage, but the problems are the uncreative boss fights and minecart levels. This gets a star or an 8.7 or a 10.